Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Today's video is not necessarily just about one particular product, but rather about a company in general. The company I'm talking to you about today is Zoxy Outdoors. Now Zoxy is a new company that launched in the spring of 2017. They had contacted me prior to their launch and were excited to show off some of their products and asked if I would work with them to help promote their company. Now I have to say right off the get-go, I was very interested in working with them. I naturally gravitate towards entrepreneurial people, and so to see people with high energy that are excited about launching a product and a brand and are looking for some help, I naturally thought that would be a good fit for me and something that, really I believe in. I'm entrepreneurial myself. I've always had small businesses, and actually that's even the way I approach this YouTube channel. And so to see people looking to collaborate, work together, and help promote their company, I figured this was a great opportunity. So the products that you're going to see today were provided to me directly from Zoxy. So thank you very much for the opportunity and the ability to work with you. I am very excited to take a look at this product today. I have not yet even opened the package, and this is, I think, something that will definitely work for me and for many of you as well. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of Zoxy's brand new products. Now just taking a quick look at the Zoxy Outdoors website. At this particular time, they do only have a few products to offer, but they will be expanding in the future. Some of the products that you will see are for the general outdoor and camping genre of activities. In this particular case, I was sent a stove to review today. And also, if you look at some of their other pages, you'll see that they have what they call their swag, which is basically t-shirts, little mugs, different hats and things like that. And they also sent me a t-shirt to show you today. So a lot of these products are made in the USA, which is very good. And I think that's something that is worth paying attention to. They're doing their best to source what they can locally and use local resources, and I think that's a very good thing, especially in this day and age. So as I had mentioned, they did send me a t-shirt, and here you can see their logo. So the Zoxy logo is pretty cool. I like it. It's a ram head, sort of in a diamond. I think it's an interesting design and definitely relates to the outdoors. It's as much as it is a camping look as it would be maybe for hunting. I'm not sure if they're intending on catering towards a sort of like a hunting genre, but at least right now in the camping aspect, something like a ram or whatever is a pretty good symbol for outdoor activities, and so I think it's fitting for the brand. This particular t-shirt is a pre-shrunk cotton and just exhibits a 3/4 length sleeve. So it's a interesting cut on the bottom too. It's going to be a little bit hard for you to see, but it's kind of contoured. It actually reminds me a little bit of like a warm-up jersey for like a baseball team or something like that. So it has a little bit of that sort of athletic look. Now the main product we're going to take a look at today is what Zoxy calls their Extreme Adventure Camping Backpacking Cooking System. So in this box, this is a cooking system. I have some comparisons to show you or talk about today, just so that you can see kind of roughly what this reminds me of. But I've basically opened the box real quick. I haven't completely unpackaged it, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to basically unbox this thing and get a first impressions look at this camp stove. One of the things that I kind of wish off the get-go is that this box came with at least the Zoxy logo. It is a plain box. Now I know this company has just launched and they should be hopefully working in the future towards upgrading their packaging. My opinion is that they have a pretty cool logo. It's very recognizable, and I think once they get their products off and running, it would be nice to see a nice logo on the front of this box. But as of right now, it's just a plain box, but the product is inside, and let's open it up and take a look. Now opening this thing up, inside we have a nicely wrapped package, which inside here contains the stove. Now the stove does come in this little mesh sack, has a little drawstring, and gives you the ability to keep everything kind of well contained. I can see this being a dual purpose item, which is actually kind of nice. You know, little bags like this that are nice and lightweight actually work very well for different camping applications, so it's kind of nice that this came right with this product. Now, one of the key features about a stove like this is it is an all-inclusive system, so everything that you need is all right inside this one package. So at this point, there are a number of things inside here. I'm basically opening this up for the first time, so we'll see exactly what it is together for the first time. But on the outside, there is a neoprene sleeve that houses this entire system, which is nice because if you use this to cook and it heats up, you do have the ability to kind of handle this without the worry of getting burned. So right off the get-go, just a nice presentation on the outside, the nice Zoxy logo. I like this being a bright orange. Different things for me in terms of my camping preferences will vary depending on exactly what it is. In terms of color, sometimes I like to be a little bit more subdued. I like to have all of my shelter systems and tarps and things like that to be more of a subdued color. And then I like a lot of my accessories to be brighter and orange, so when I'm around the campsite, I can see them and identify them quickly and easily. So in that regard, this is actually pretty cool. I like that it's a bright orange, and that works well for me. Now, as I continue on to more of the details of the stove, you'll notice that there is a handle on the outside of this. So it's held in place with this little sort of wire. If you pop that off, it basically releases the stove. And at that point, this flips down, it latches into place, and the cover can come off. So that's a nice design. I like that. It's very, I'd say, like user-friendly. There's a tiny little button here that you depress to release the latch. If you look closely, and I will zoom in on this, there is a latch that holds this entire handle assembly right in place. So right here, as I mentioned, you can see that little latch that basically clips in and allows this handle just to snap right into place. There's just the smallest tiny little bit of wiggle, but that really doesn't affect it at all. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the thing. It is a very sturdy handle, and I believe even if you were to fill this completely full of liquid, you should have no problems at all holding it up with that handle. Now just removing the lid, getting inside. We'll see some of the other components here. I'll just unwrap them as we go. So this looks to be either a stand or a part of the burner. Little spacer there. Okay, so here is the actual burner. There you have the burner. There's your little gas regulator built right into it. And a stand. So this is a stand that unfolds. So here is the complete kit at this point. Everything that comes with it. And I'll just remove this packaging. So here you can see it is a 1 liter pot. This has graduations going all the way down the inside. So this will help aid in getting you the appropriate amount of liquid in here depending on what you're trying to do, whether you're making food or just boiling water or whatever. At least there are graduations on the inside, so it's very helpful. Now the website states that this is a combination of aluminum and stainless steel. I believe a lot of the hardware is going to be the stainless steel, and the pot itself is an aluminum pot. The bottom of the pot has these fins which helps conduct heat. Basically the burner will work on the bottom of the pot, and it'll send the flame sort of dispersing over these coils here to help heat the pot a little bit faster and also protect the flame so it's less prone to getting really subjected to wind or anything like that. So in that regard, this is sort of a protected burner design. It's something that I'm not incredibly familiar with. I haven't ever really used one of these types of pots, so it'll be a nice experiment for me to get my hands on these, this type of pot system anyway, for the first time, and really see if it's something that's effective. Now, another detail about these fins is that they are considered to be a heat exchanger. So what that means is ultimately the heating source should be more efficient, and the website claims that these heat exchangers make the heating process about 30% more efficient. So that's actually pretty good in terms of the overall consumption of fuel and the ability to maybe carry less fuel with you and cut down on a little bit of weight. Now, taking a look at the burner here, this I believe is a sort of stainless steel, and there's a nice heavy duty plastic on the bottom. As I mentioned before, there is a built-in gas regulator that folds out of the way. You can see here where the gas threads into this, and it has a little bit of a base so that if it's not actually on the fuel canister, you do have the ability to set that down and it'll be nice and balanced. So it looks to be, just right off the get-go, nice construction. I mean, it's definitely all sound, put together well. I'll be interested to see what kind of a burn pattern we have on this thing. But first and foremost, just my initial look at it seems pretty nice. Alright, so now that I'm getting into this a little further, I see now exactly what this piece is. This is pretty nice. This is a little accessory piece that goes on the top of the burner. Basically what you do is you kick these little legs to the side, and this creates sort of a pot stand so that you can use this burner for potentially any other type of pot or cup or anything like that. It's got these little slotted ears here that lock it into place, and so this actually creates a nice little pot stand for any other type of pot that you may use. So you're not only limited exactly to the one cup that they give you, but you also have the ability to use anything else that you may want to bring. So as I mentioned before, this does come with a stand. It has a little Zoxy logo right on it, and it does fold up so that it fits right inside of this kit. This again is made of a very similar plastic to that burner, so it's a nice heavy duty durable plastic. Now what I can tell you is these legs have a really nice positive click. I mean, that is just a nice firm and positive click there, so it's not like there's anything flapping around. You can tell that the design is quite nice and works very well. So just little details like that I think are important. You don't want the pot stand, something that's holding up your kit while you're trying to boil water, to be all flapping around. So the fact that that's nice and firm is definitely a good thing. Now I happen to have here a small canister of fuel. I'm going to see here if this fits, and it fits perfect. So right off the get-go, that is a good thing. One of these small canisters of fuel fit real nicely inside that stand. And I also have here one of the larger canisters of fuel. If you look at the size comparison here, you can see this one is quite bigger. And as I go to pop this in place, it just takes a tiny little bit of persuading, but no big deal. Fits on there just about perfect. Now let's mount this burner up real quick. Should be the appropriate thread. As it is, these threads feel nice and smooth. They go on without any problem. Now I heard the gas pressure work its way into the burner, so it should be fully charged and ready to go. When you take this handle and regulator on the side and twist it open, you can hear that the gas is definitely pressurized and making its way out the top of the burner. One thing that I think is important to note is that this regulator is in the off position when it's horizontal. You can continue to further turn it and really lock it in the off position once you get it to vertical, but it is off when it's horizontal, and that's an important feature. I'll show you why. So the reason why I say it's important that the gas is off when this is in the horizontal position is because that's how you stow away the handle when you go to package this up and put it away. So in other words, when you're coming to your camp and want to set up your stove, the first thing you're going to do is basically flop open that handle. Then from there, you pretty much proceed to threading this on the top of the gas. Now, if this was not in the off position, you'd be leaking gas right now, and that would just be problematic. So, in other words, this is a good thing because you don't need to remember to really crank this down and closed before you get it installed onto the gas. And I think that's actually an important thing worth noting. Now on the side opposite the regulator, you also have an igniter. And that's a pretty sweet feature to have an igniter built directly onto this burner. Now I don't think I would personally only rely on this igniter to light this stove. I would also have an additional ignition source, whether it's a bunch of matches or a lighter or something like that. You know, carry a ferro rod. At least if you had to, you could throw a spark and get that thing to go. But to have this is actually very convenient, and hopefully it'll work pretty well. So let's just give it a quick try here. We'll get the gas going. Oh yeah, first try, no problem. So that is sweet. So I cut down on the lights here to give you a good look at this burner. I'm just going to fire it up, giving it some gas, and letting it rip. I mean, let's get it on high. So this is pretty much fully high. I mean, at this point you can see it's a nice jet-like flame. This is going to hit the bottom of the pan, hit those fins, and disperse this flame over the bottom of the cup. I'm going to dial it down here so you can see exactly how low you can get it to go. And just cranking it down, down. I mean, we're getting quite low on the dial here. I mean, I'm practically choking this thing off, and it's going right down. So, I mean, you really can dial this exactly where you want it. So this regulator works very well, and you get a really bright and strong concentrated flame. Now I've connected the pot here to give you the ability maybe to see what this is doing with the pot installed. I don't know if this is going to be successful, but I figured I'd at least give it a try. So I'm going to try to get this thing going. I put a little bit of water in this pot as to not overheat it. So now we get this thing going. I can see the flame going right up into the middle of the pot. Now I can't say for sure. I do see the flame dispersing out over these fins, but obviously over the next few minutes those fins are all going to heat up, and it's going to help conduct heat in the bottom of this pot and disperse it all the way around the perimeter. Now this has only been on for probably about 30 seconds or so, and you can already see that the water is heating up considerably. I mean, I literally just turned this on, and I mean, it is quite warm already. You're already starting to see some bubbles form, and I wasn't even intending on doing a true boil test today. So I'm actually pretty impressed right off the get-go, and even with me not intending to do any real significant testing, this is pretty cool. But I'm going to turn this off for now and kind of wrap this thing up. So now, just to give you guys a comparison to something you may be more familiar with, this is a jet boil flash. Now personally, like I told you, I am not very familiar with this particular type of product, so I may be speaking a little bit out of place here, and if I am, you know, you can certainly feel free to correct me. But anyway, this jet boil flash has very similar features to what you see on this Zoxy camp stove. It does have a neoprene exterior sleeve. It has a handle on it, has a cover, a lot of very similar features to what you do see on this. But I see this Zoxy having a couple of advantages. And first is this nice handle on the outside versus this jet boil, which has sort of like a, you know, a nylon webbing connected to this neoprene sleeve, which in that regard, this thing's, you know, kind of a little bit floppy and moves around. I mean, this handle here is very firm and stable, so I see that being kind of an advantage. The other thing, this lid has a nice little sort of handle on it, where this lid, you know, you're kind of trying to work it off, and I don't know if you'd, you know, necessarily use this while you were, you know, cooking, or I mean, I would think you'd probably want to boil your water faster, but then you kind of have to pull this thing off while you have hot water underneath. So, you know, this is actually kind of a nice design where it has that nice lid with a handle. Now, something that I'm not completely sure of, and again, feel free to correct me, but what at least it appears to be is that these jet boils tend to use the smaller fuel canisters. Now, that's a pro and a con. I mean, I think that's good because ultimately you have a slightly smaller system that can cut down on some weight. You're bringing smaller fuel canisters, and in that regard, when you look at the size of this container, these fuel canisters do fit down inside the system. So, you know, that to me is an advantage when you want to cut down on weight, but it's a disadvantage when you want to carry the larger fuel source. So as I mentioned, if you wanted to carry one of the larger fuels, obviously that does not fit. But in the regards of the Zoxy, that fits right down inside. So, you know, this stove is a little bit larger. It's a little bit shorter, but it is a little bit girthier. So, I mean, you could look at that as a pro or a con. For me, I always like to have a little more volume available for boiling water. I don't want to have to boil water too many times, so I'd rather have a larger container where I can just boil water one time. So I tend to prefer larger pots anyway. So to me, that is an advantage. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could still bring the smaller fuel source, and then with this stand, it can fit either size. So it is versatile in that regard. Now, there is one feature here on this jet boil that I think would be a worthwhile addition to this Zoxy stove, which is they seem to have added a cup on the bottom that nests over this burner area. And so, you know, this actually is a decent sized cup, but on the Zoxy it would be even a little bit bigger. Gives you kind of like a bowl you could use for any of your food, or even if you wanted to use it kind of like a mug. So I think that would actually be a pretty nice option to add on here. They could use the same sort of orange or even the yellow to accent, but I think maybe the same sort of orange that they have on the handle would look pretty sweet as a cup or bowl nesting on the bottom of the stove. So at this point, I'm not going to go into too much more detail comparing this to the jet boil, but I did just want to take a minute and show you those kind of side by side. I may contemplate in the future doing a full review between the two, comparing, contrasting, and seeing which one's more efficient, but that would be for a later date. So at this time, what I thought I would do is actually take the fuel and see if I can pack this thing up completely, getting the entire system inside here. And let's just take a minute and see how that goes. Voila! So that did work very well. The entire system, fuel and all, fits right inside this pot. That is a wonderful thing. I mean, you saw me struggle just a tiny bit to do it. I mean, I had to figure out the proper order to get everything nested inside here, but it fits absolutely perfectly. And that even includes that supplementary additional pot stand. So you really have a nice, quality, versatile package right here. It's a little bit on the big side, but I mean, you know, like I told you, I personally prefer to have a slightly larger pot, and in that regard, this thing's going to be sweet. I am very, very impressed and happy with this product. I am extremely excited to get this out in the field. I cannot wait to go hit the mountains and get this up and cooking me some food out in the woods. All right, so now to wrap things up, first and foremost, I'd just like to say thank you again to Zoxy for sending this product. This is a very nice system. You've done a great job. I like your attention to detail. I think you're definitely on the right track. Some little minor things to think about, just simply packaging at this point, paying a little more attention to making sure that you get the branding on the package moving forward. But other than that, I mean, your product is speaking for itself, so that's definitely a good thing. I'm extremely excited to use this, and I look forward to what other products you may come up with in the future. And also for the rest of you, if you're in the market for a stove or one kind of like this, I would strongly suggest this. Overall, it seems like it's very nice. I'm looking forward to doing a field review, and so in the future, I hope to get an actual field review so that you can see how this performs. So anyway, keep an eye out, and if you're interested, check out their website, ZoxyOutdoors.com. So alright guys, I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.